Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and I am up late on Monday night to give you this special Tuesday video because we have a new report that it has been confirmed Uber drivers and Lyft, of course, we're just going to say Uber because why not, are officially getting screwed. If you're driving for Uber, you are getting royally screwed. Your earnings have dipped more than half what it was just a few short years ago. We have the article, we have the proof, the research has been done. So you know what? Let's do what I personally love doing, why you still come to this channel, why you still put up with this red face and this fat cheeks and whatever, because you like hearing a little fat guy complain about Uber. So let's just do that. So, according to, what's this? MarketWatch. Yeah, MarketWatch. That's a reputable news source, right? Drivers for online platforms, including Uber and Lyft, are making less than half of what they did 4 years ago, even as more and more people are drawn into working for them. A new report from the JP Chase Institute based on payments directed to 2.3 million families. 2.3 million families. This isn't like those, surveys where it's like, oh, we surveyed like 2,000 people. No, this is 2.3 million. And JP Chase has access to bank accounts, so they can actually track this. Showed that average monthly platform earnings dropped considerably by 53% between 2013 and 2017. Guys, that's only 4 years, not even 5. These drivers made $783 per month in 2017 versus $1,469 in 2013. Wow, that is a big difference. And before anybody brings it up, because I know they're going to say it, I know there are YouTubers out there making more than $1,400 a week. We're talking about sane people who have lives, who drive regular hours. If you want to drive like a madman, you can do it. You can make your $2,000 or more a month. It's proven. I'm not even disputing that anymore. This data is for people who drive a regular working shift. They're the ones who are losing all this money. And even the people who are shown that they're still making more than $2,000 with the new surge, the upfront pricing, and the lower fares, they even admit they're driving more these days. So, and even some people who don't drive full-time have admitted recently on their UberTube page that they are working harder to make their money. In the first quarter of 2014, nearly half of drivers who work for on-demand platforms such as Uber and Lyft earn $900 a month or more. However, during the first quarter of 2018, less than 25% of drivers were able to earn more than $900, the report found. $900. That doesn't even cover the rent in California. In California, you must be at a pretty cheap place if $900 covers the rent. But the point is, most people can't even make that, and the rent is typically a lot more than $900. A limitation of the report is that it only took into account monthly earnings as opposed to hourly earnings, which, in all fairness, that's kind of a big difference. The reason for this being that it was not possible for the researchers to extract hourly earnings data from consumers' bank accounts. Quote, "We observe when customers are cashing out, but we don't know how much they have been working," said Amir Hamoudi. I don't know how to pronounce that name, sorry. Senior research lead at JP Chase Institute. Quote, "These declines in monthly earnings among drivers may reflect the fact that the growth in the number of drivers could have put downward pressure on hourly wages. They may also reflect a personal decline in the number of hours drivers are driving. Regardless of whether the drop in earnings was caused by a fall in wages or hours or both, it indicates that driving has become less and less likely to replace a full-time job over the past 5 years as more drivers have joined the market." And I think it's true. I think there's a mixture of both. I think it's falling wages. I think it's the lack of the surge in some of the markets now. And yeah, there are more drivers out there driving, and thus there are less customers. So I think it's a little bit of everything. Now, as for why some of these people who were on Uber for a few years ago are driving less, well, they're probably driving less because they're making less money. So really, no matter how you slice it, what this comes down to is that there is money to be lost. Earnings are going down. And you're a fool if you don't see it coming. If you don't think the earnings have fallen, you are in a state of denial that I only wish I could have. Maybe I could go back to believing in the Easter Bunny. That state of denial is so bad. I'm getting really nasty about this, I realize. But you know what? It's really frustrating because all the time on my videos, I see people are like, oh, I'm making $25 an hour. I'm making this much money a week. I can do it. I am judging you. And I'm not talking about the person you're probably thinking of. He has not been an issue for me for a while. But the commenters are definitely still pushing this like, no, you're just lazy. If you would get out there and drive and stop complaining, you would make no money. Well, here it is. The report is here. Apparently, I wouldn't be making money. I would be making 53% less. That's what I would be making. 53% less money. I am sorry. I would much rather complain about it and collect my YouTube royalties than drive for this scumbag of a company. And there might be people who are sleeping in the house, so I better be a little bit quieter at this point. Having said that, both Uber and Lyft disputed the findings in the study because of course they would. Quote, the fact that this study did not examine hourly earnings, the metric that drivers care most about, has resulted in misleading headlines. Is that the metric they care most about? Actually, yeah. Yeah, no, actually, that is true. Drivers do care about the metrics. Well, you know what? I have seen some of these breakdowns of people who make $1,500 and $2,000 a week. And they have averaged $8, somewhere between $8 and $9.50. That's what they've averaged. By the few calculations I've done, I have not done any extensive studies. But yeah, so if that's what they care about, then the drivers are still getting royally screwed. Said Adrian Durbin, Senior Director of Communication at Lyft. Had it done so, the results have been shown stable drivers' earnings in recent years. No, it probably wouldn't have. They probably would have been stably low, but I don't think they'd be that stable. Uber made a similar point in a statement. It's amazing how Uber and Lyft just manage to always be on the same page when it comes to paying drivers. They're never on the same page about how people are treated, how the economy is going. But hey, when it comes to drivers are making too little money, both of them come out in full swing, almost in unison. No, there's things you're not taking account. We're not paying that low. Yeah. Bullshit. Uber made a similar point in a statement. The study's findings reinforce what we and many others have said for some time, that the growth in on-demand work is driven in large part by people who use platforms like Uber on the side. Given the growing share of people who use platforms like Uber only occasionally, a more appropriate metric to focus on would be hourly average earnings, which have remained steady over time. Oh geez, they made the hourly earning point too. Well, here's the thing. If people are driving less, there's probably a reason people are not doing this full-time like they used to. I remember when I started, almost everyone did it full-time. Now, almost nobody does it full-time. And I know a lot of people who do it very, very part-time could not give up their jobs. And I have had emails from people who gave up their full-time jobs to try to do this full-time, and they could not even come close to succeeding. Taking into account fees as well as other expenses incurred, Uber drivers typically end up earning just $9.21 an hour. Oh, yeah, hey, that's my math. Okay, I was pretty close. A different report published by Lawrence Mischel, a distinguished fellow at the Economic Policy Institute, a left-leaning nonprofit think tank based in Washington, D.C., found. Yeah. In his research, Mischel says he has found that there has been an increase in the amount of Uber drivers over the course of 4 years who are driving fewer hours each week. Quote, driving for Uber has become much more of an auxiliary earnings activity, he said, citing data from his report, which equates Uber drivers to one full-time worker. 8 Uber drivers to one full-time worker. That's important. For many drivers, the flexibility that driving for ride-hailing companies like Uber allot them is a reason why they are willing to accept lower wages, as opposed to taking on second job with set hours. Yeah. So, anyway, let's go back up to that little picture. And yeah, that says it all. Uber's wage, you can't make a true living at this anymore. Not unless you want to practically kill yourself. And I don't think that's in dispute. If you can embrace the grind, and if you can do 80, 90 hours a week, and you can give up a life, and you can do it. How long you would want to do that? I don't know. Like I said, I worked for Disneyland for 60-hour weeks, and after 3 months, I was fatigued, and believe it or not, I was very skinny because I wasn't eating properly. I was very, very unhealthy working just a few months, 60 hours a week with no days off. So it's got to be worse if you're doing 80 hours a week with Uber and Lyft. But the studies are there. We now have the proof. JP Mortgage Chase is definitely reputable in their number reporting for these things. I know there's that whole housing market crash. Well, we won't get into that. The Big Short, Inside Job, these are movies you can watch for that. But it doesn't even take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on. The wages are getting smaller. Drivers are getting paid less. They're getting their surge stolen. And, of course, there's more drivers. There's way more people willing to work these super low wages. I am honestly shocked that when Uber started, where were all the people willing to drive for the good fares? Like, we had great fares when we started. Where was everyone willing to drive then? Now we're getting at like the pit of the barrel, the bottom. We're scraping the barrel on the fares. And people are signing up like crazy. Well, of course, Uber also changed their expectations. Now they'll accept pretty much any car. Back then they didn't. So yeah, it's changed a lot. But there you have it. You're making 53% less than what you were a few years ago. Feel accomplished? Feel like your time has been well spent? I would love to know. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. 53%.